live from the UATV studio. I'm your host, Mike Raven. From WildcatAuthority.com, Derek Basenden. From the Daily Wildcat, Annie Marham. And from Camp Radio, sports director, Zach Clark. This is the Dorm Room Sports Chat. What's up, Wildcats? Tonight, find out how far the UA basketball team will make it this season, what the Wildcats are doing on ice, and the man in charge of it all, Greg Byrne, joins me under the Beardown spotlight. But first, everybody coming back for homecoming this weekend and showing some support for Tim Kish and the new look football team. With an impressive win last week, could the Cats extend their winning streak over the mediocre Utah Utes? Slow start to the game, but Devontae Christopher hauls in a 65-yard touchdown pass, putting the Utes up 10-0. Before you could blink, John White adds another score on the ground, and the Cats looking like their old selves again. Right before the half, Foles says, "Wake up, David Douglas," and connects with him for 23 yards. Utah leads 20-7 at the half. So it's homecoming, it's loud, the Cats are going to come out firing, right? Wrong. Quarterback John Hayes throws it up to Reggie Dunn for 44 yards, and it's now 27-7 Utah. With Kreiner's lack of production, somebody had to step up. Douglas says, me, I will, and he catches another touchdown from Foles. Douglas with 10 catches, 157 yards, and 2 scores. But John White, with over 100 yards on the ground, takes in his second touchdown of the day. The Cats fall 34-21, dropping to 2-7. Annie, why couldn't Arizona make this a happy homecoming, or at least a good game?
Well, when you have 2 blocked punts, a missed field goal attempt, 3 drop passes, and an interception deep in Wildcat territory, only in the first half, I'm not really sure where you get a good game out of that.
Yeah, I mean, and Nick Foles' fourth quarter interception at the 2-yard line really sealed the Wildcats' fate. He didn't have his A game, and neither did the Wildcats. And as Mike said, they look like they used to, before the UCLA miracle, as I'm going to call it.
No, they did. They looked exactly like they did the whole entire season. And, speaking of the UCLA game last week, was that performance only a result of the momentum they had?
Yeah, absolutely. Chalk it up to novelty on this one. Arizona went into that game having fired their head coach, had a bye week. You look at UCLA now, they have an outside track to win the Pac-12 South. They don't control their own destiny, but, it's got to be a fluke. I mean, come on, they've lost 2 in a row now, dropping a close one to Washington in Seattle, and then this week coming out and not showing up at all, absolutely.
You got to have momentum on your side in any kind of game, but there's no, rules that say when you have momentum and when you don't. It's a choice that they made, and they didn't come out fired up. They didn't come out ready to play, and you saw what happened.
And obviously a big problem too. Foles threw 0 interceptions the first 4 games. The last 5 games, he's thrown 10 interceptions. Now, Annie, why is he continuing to make these mistakes?
Well, I'm not sure if it's the offensive line or if he just can't handle the pressure or the rushing that's coming towards him or if his wide receivers aren't running the post they're supposed to be. But all I can say is it's the second week in a row that he's had ill-timed pass or interceptions, and it's hurt us. It's hurt our chances to come back in both games.
Well, one of the things that Nick Foles has done is he makes ill-timed decisions. It's not necessarily, the timing of the interception, but he likes to throw the football when he's on his back heel falling down without even looking at where it's going. So, and also Arizona has not done a good job of protecting him, especially on Saturday.
Now, Zach, the big receiver of the game for Arizona was not Jerron Kreiner. It was David Douglas, 156 yards receiving, 2 scores on the day. Now, talk about his performance and what we can expect from him in the future.
Well, just a great game from David Douglas. As you said, 10 catches, 2 touchdowns, well over 100 yards. And he has stepped up when Jerron Kreiner and Dan Buckner have not. Now, a lot of people didn't think Dan Buckner was going to play due to injury. He did, but was relatively ineffective. No Wildcat had more than 3 catches besides Douglas. And this kid going forward, I think he'll do a good job for the rest of the season, keeping it consistent. And as far as the future, I'm not sure if he's got what it takes to make it to the NFL, but he's a darn good collegiate receiver right now.
And if he's going to step up and catch the ball when our other receivers aren't, he's okay in my books.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll wrap this one up right now with you, Annie. We travel to Colorado next week, who is 1-9, 0-6 in Pac-12 play. On paper, it looks like an easy win, but is it?
Well, I think this season has showed more than ever that there's no such thing as an easy win, and there's no point in judging this game off of a piece of paper. I'd like to say that we could have the win, but it just depends if our team shows up to play or if, maybe the cold weather gets the best of them.
Well, Arizona went on the road and played Oregon State. They were, that's a team that without a win, Arizona didn't win that one. And so, I don't expect Arizona to win this football game.
No predictions can be made about
I'm
this.
not going to say anything. I don't expect Arizona to win this football game, but that's all I'm going to say.
Hey, well, it's been a long season, but hopefully Arizona can find win number 3 next week. Coming up next, why the basketball team's unimpressive preseason doesn't matter. The basketball team made it to the Elite 8 last year. Sean Miller stays, and the team is ranked 16 heading into the season. They will miss the presence of Derek Williams, but they don't seem too worried about that. The Cats are young, healthy, and determined to make an impact this season. Now, Zach, tomorrow night is the home opener against Valparaiso. How important is it for this team to make a statement?
Well, it's huge. Arizona has to win this game. Wins in November are worth the same as wins in February, March, and April. Arizona needs to come out strong, and they have to decide what kind of team they're going to be. They've struggled defensively in the first 2 exhibition games, costing them a victory and forced them to come from behind in the second half in both games. And so, it's only getting more difficult for the Wildcats. So they got to win while they're at home against mid-level opponents, even though Arizona might be mid-level themselves at this point. And
I was going to say, hopefully these 2 first exhibition games serve the same purpose that the Utah game did last year, which was a wake-up call. And Sean Miller in press conference said over and over again that the coaching staff and the players know that they need to work and they know they need to get better. So hopefully we can, get this team on the right track for our first game tomorrow night.
And now, Annie, what player do you see leading this team and really stepping up this season?
Well, as Sean Miller said, it's not up to a coach to make that decision. That has to be from the player, and you either have the it factor or you don't. Derek Williams did, Momo Jones did, and I'm, Jesse Perry or Solomon Hill are my choices, and I would go Solomon.
Right, and I'm going to go say Solomon Hill as well. Jesse Perry, a great player and a good leader, but Jesse Perry is very, very soft-spoken. He's quiet. Solomon Hill has a great attitude, big presence in the locker room. I like for him to lead the Wildcats this season.
And now, Zach, what young players on the team do you feel can make a big impact this year?
I'm looking off the bat at Nick Johnson. He's a prolific scorer, full of highlights left and right, and also Josiah Turner, who's done a very good job early of distributing the basketball and coming back and helping on defense.
Those were my 2, too. Considering Nick Johnson he went 18 points in 21 minutes against Seattle Pacific, so I think he's our guy. He can make quick moves and quick decisions, and he can get that, the flow going again.
Now, Annie, before Pac-12 play begins, Arizona has a couple highlight games on the schedule. They play St. John's in about 2 weeks, and then they enter December taking on Florida, Clemson, and Gonzaga. Now, how can these games help or hurt Arizona?
Well, the more games you play, the better. I mean, there's always chances for people to get hurt, but that can happen in any game. So now that we're taking it out of Pac-12 play, and we get to, play different teams, different sizes, different heights, it's going to be great for us so that we can, well-round our team and get the freshmen and the seniors and the juniors all working together.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona has to play the Johnnies at the Garden. Clemson's a home game. Gonzaga, a virtual road game. It's in Seattle. It's neutral. And then Florida on the road. 2 national championships in the last decade. Billy Donovan's got a great squad. That's going to be a tough game for Arizona early.
All right, and Zach, this one's for you. Who in the Pac-12 will give Arizona the biggest trouble in finishing first in the conference?
Well, I think you have to go back and look at the same 2 teams that gave Arizona the hardest times last year, both UCLA and Washington. Lorenzo Romar at Washington and Ben Howland at UCLA have their teams back on the map. Washington won the Pac-10 tournament last year. UCLA and Ben Howland have done a fantastic job recruiting. Look for those 2 teams to put up tough fights against the Wildcats this season.
It's going to be a game of height, and that's what UCLA has over us. They've got kids on their team who are averaging 15 rebounds a game, and I don't think we're over 5. And when you've got Joshua Smith at 6'10", 300 pounds, and he's moving up and down that court, I mean, if you can't get the rebounds, you're not going to win a basketball game.
Well, that's a big player. And don't forget, it all begins tomorrow night for the Cats at McKale Center. When we come back, we'll hear from the man who convinced Sean Miller to stay. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Derek Williams, the former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
UATV 3 UATV 3 When I turn on the TV, I turn it to channel 3, cause they got all the greatest shows that I've been waiting to see. It's entertaining to me, cause it's pertaining to me and all the other Wildcats in the student body. We're broadcasting live to all the residence halls, so all y'all's in the halls, turn your TVs on to channel 3 for Sheezy, so you can see me and all the other happy people down at UATV 3.
And now it's time for the Beardown Spotlight, brought to you by UATV.
We're back with Athletic Director Greg Byrne. Thanks for coming on the show. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great too. Now, obviously, you've been pretty busy, a lot going on in the sports world, but are you ready to take on the Beardown Spotlight? Just
Yeah,
sit back?
absolutely. Let's give it a try.
All right, first question for you. Why was it so important to keep Sean Miller at Arizona?
Well, I think you look at obviously what took place last season and what he was able to do in 2 short years as far as re-energize our men's basketball program, get our fan base back involved, lay a great foundation from a recruiting standpoint going forward. I've been around coaches my entire life, and there's not another men's basketball coach that I'd rather work with than Sean Miller, so I'm very glad he's here.
All right, and he's back. Basketball team's looking good so far. What do you expect out of them this season?
Well, it'll be some growing pains at the beginning of the year with the new freshmen, and that's part of it. Very rarely will a freshman come in right off the bat and look like they're world beaters. You look at how we played at the beginning of last year with some new energy, new blood in the program, and then just also guys continuing to develop. It took a while for us to get our feet under us. I think you'll see the same thing with this team. One of the things that Coach Miller has a great reputation for, and well-deserved, is for his development of talent, and he'll do that, and that's why you see that young men want to come play for him and our program.
All right, and since you've been here, you've done a lot so far. Now, the new scoreboard, obviously a great addition to the stadium. Now, I want you to briefly describe to me your intentions with the North End Zone project that a lot of people probably don't know about right now.
Sure. We plan to break ground in January or February, hopefully February at the latest. And that's going to be a $72 million renovation for Arizona Stadium. It's going to be our football home 365 days a year. Most BCS schools, in fact, I don't know another BCS school, has a football complex. I don't know another one that doesn't have a football complex, and so we're one of the last ones to do so. This will have our weight room, medical treatment center, equipment room, locker room, coaches' offices, team meeting areas, and right now we're all over the place. But on top of that, we're going to have a cafeteria that's going to be open up for all of our student athletes. We're going to open up to the general student body as well, that they can come and have lunch and have dinner. We'll also invite the faculty to come be a part of it as well. It's going to be about an 18-month build, so we should be in it for this 2013 football season. But that's going to be a very attractive piece of the puzzle for us going forward to get our football program where we want it to be. On top of that, we're going to also have a lot of new fan amenities. Restrooms and concessions and all those things are an issue for us at Arizona Stadium. This will be the first big piece of the puzzle to allow us to modernize those things. It'll take some of the pressure off the east and west sides of the stadium, and it'll give the fans in that area some amenities that will make it a very attractive seating area. And we'll also have a high-end club area up on top as well for some of our higher-end seating, as a higher-end seating option.
And it sounds like it's going to be amazing, and it's too bad I won't be here to enjoy it anymore.
Well, you can come back and buy a ticket.
I was going to say homecoming. I'll come back and enjoy that. Speaking of homecoming, we just had that this weekend. Tim Kish, his second game as the interim head coach. How do you feel he's stepped in and performed so far?
He's done a very good job. Took over a very challenging situation for Coach Stoops, and I've been pleased with his leadership. He's presented kept the discipline strong, the academic accountability strong. Those were some of the first things he talked to the team about when he took over. And I think he and the coaches are having some fun, and that's what we want him to do. Obviously, the game didn't go the way we wanted it to last night, but we still have 3 games ahead of us. Got to go to Colorado this week, and that's a game we go play well, play like we're able to. I like our chances.
And we should come away with the win, hopefully, but nothing's certain right now. Now, the first game he coached last week against UCLA, Obviously, right before the half, we had the streaker and the brawl. Can you kind of tell me about your feelings on that whole situation?
Well, there's reasons why we have security at the stadium. Because what happened there with the incident was bad all around. It was a bad representation for our university, for our community, and then unfortunately the officials were diverted to something else, and as football's an emotional game, and unfortunately the emotions got got the best of a couple of the student athletes on both sides, and we had to deal with the consequences of that. And so it's something that there's just no room for. The Larry Scott, our commissioner, came in and dealt with it from a league perspective very quickly, and we were full support of what he did.
No, they definitely handled it well. Now I want to move away from football for a second. As far as baseball, another big decision, moving the team to play their home games at High Corbett this upcoming season. How do you feel that's going to help that organization?
Well, it's going to help us a lot. It's going to help us from a couple different fronts. One, it'll give us a facility that we're going to be able to recruit young men to that will say, you know, just a couple years ago this was a major league training facility, and there aren't many schools in the country that can say that, and that makes us different, makes us unique, and that's important. How do you separate yourself from the competition? And that allows us to do it. On top of that, we're going to have as good a training setup for our teams, or for our baseball team, to allow them to train at a level as high as anybody else. And obviously when you recruit young men to your baseball program, if you're going to be successful, get to Omaha on a regular basis, you're going to recruit at a level that most of the young men that you bring in are going to have aspirations beyond the U of A. And so that'll be an important part for us. The last piece for us is that we think it's going to give us a chance to re-engage our community with our baseball program. There's a lot of history there. Our crowds on campus have struggled, and Coach Lopez has put out a pretty good product. Hasn't got us to Omaha quite as much as we want, but there haven't been many years where we haven't been going to the postseason. So what we hope this will do is, one, when we qualify for postseason, that we'll be able to host regionals and super regionals right here in Tucson, which will be good for our economy. But two, we want our fan base to come out there and support the baseball team throughout the season and not just wait for the playoff times.
All right, and last question for you. You recently just got a contract extension and a raise. Now, you've done a tremendous amount for Arizona. What do you want to leave for your legacy when you leave this school?
Oh, I haven't thought a whole lot about that. I think that'll be for other people to answer at some point. I think what I hope, though, is when I'm done, whenever that is, and I hope it's a long time from now, that people say we worked very hard, that we've cared deeply about the University of Arizona, we've cared for our student athletes, we've made the community a positive impact on the community, and that we've set ourselves up for the next 10, 20, 30 years for future success, and that's having the infrastructure in place from a facility standpoint, from an academic standpoint, from a compliance standpoint, all those things, to where we're representing the program in the right way. And I feel very appreciative of Dr. Sander coming to me with the new contract. So try my best not to disappoint anybody.
Well, you haven't so far. Now, Greg Byrne, you are out of the Beardown spotlight. I want to thank you for coming on this show. We wish you the best of luck with the rest of your career here. Next up, find out how the hockey team is handling themselves so far this season. Stay with us. It's the first year Arizona hockey is affiliated with the school. Sean Hogan has come in and taken over as head coach and really believes he can make this a national championship team. Taking on some top-ranked opponents in the first 7 games, left the Cats with a 2-4-1 record, but they showed they can compete. Since then, they have sparked a 4-game winning streak, outscoring their opponents 48-2. They are now 6-4-1 and looking strong. Zach, the last 4 games, the team has scored at least 10 goals and has 3 shutouts. This is hockey, 48 goals in 4 games. I'm speechless. Take it away from me.
Well, it was kind of hockey. I'm not sure if that's exactly. Here's the deal. Arizona's last 2 opponents, Texas and Weber State, both Division II ACHA opponents. The Arizona Wildcats play at Division I level in the ACHA. So these are much, much lower caliber opponents. I mean, these are video game numbers. Arizona scored 47 straight goals in a 5-game span, over 277 minutes of shutout hockey. Yeah, that's unheard of. It's unreal.
Yeah, and I don't care the ranking of Texas. No. You go 10-0 and 16.
That's right.
In 1 game. I mean, that's good hockey for me.
Now, Annie, how is Sean Hogan's motivation helping this team believe they can be great?
Well, when we had Hogan on the show, he was great. He had a go-getter mentality. He's got a winning background. He wanted to bring something fresh to this team, and according to the seniors and the leaders on the team, that's exactly what he's done. And I know everybody wants to see, fights in a good hockey game, but we had 2 U of A players with ejections, and Hogan made comments that, he's going to discipline, and they were stupid penalties, but that's what happens in a high-pressured hockey game. But that's something I know that the team's working on.
Absolutely, and those games got ugly quickly. Arizona scored 9 goals in the first period on Friday, and then that frustration boiled over into Saturday night. There was 3 fights, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. It got ugly.
Now, Zach, was playing some top-quality teams in the beginning of the season a good idea?
Right, and before Arizona played these last 4 games, they played all top 10 opponents on the road, and absolutely this is a good idea. You want no surprises going forward late in the season and into the postseason. Play tough opponents now so you're not surprised late.
I think it's the same thing like I was saying with basketball. The more people you play, the harder teams you play, the better. I mean, there's no point in not challenging yourself.
Absolutely.
All right, well, both Brady Lafertz and Andrew Merms lead the team with 19 points apiece this season. Annie, who is emerging as a star for the Cats?
Well, I think both of them are doing a great job. There's also the captain, Brian Sugaki, who had 2 scores when only all the other 8 players had 1 score. So I think he's obviously leading the team as the captain and, leading the team in goals. So
yeah, Sugaki's a good pick. He scored 4 goals in the last 4 games, a goal in each game. And you look at, I like freshman Michael Ferreira defensively. He's been excellent. And Shane and Sean McLaughlin, the twins, defensively also been very strong. So a lot of bright spots for the Arizona Wildcats this season.
All right, Zach, and we're going to finish with you in this segment. The hockey team only plays Division I ACHA teams from here on out. Will they make a run the rest of the season?
I think they will. Arizona has a very, very difficult schedule coming up. They'll play Colorado State this weekend. After that, though, they go to Central Oklahoma and Oklahoma, followed by hosting Miami and then hosting Arizona State. All top 10 opponents. Arizona has a very, very tough path from here on out.
Well, I think they're on the right track. So from here on out, they can keep, doing what they're doing and keep that attitude and morale up. I think it should be a good season for them.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Hogan and the team are wishing to keep their winning streak alive this Friday on 11-11-11. Should be an interesting day. Now it's time to look at scores around the school. First of all, soccer plays their last game of the season and falls to the rival Arizona State, not getting the next win of the season, only 1 in the whole season. Volleyball team beating Oregon State 3-0, but then Oregon coming right back today, beating Arizona 3-0. The hockey team, like we said, those are the last 2 games, 12-0 and 10-2 over Weber State. And the swimming team, both men and women, continue to win, defeating Wisconsin this past week. What to look forward to next week? Arizona at Colorado, looking for a needed 3rd win of the season. Men's basketball opening tomorrow night against Valparaiso and then playing Duquesne later this week. The volleyball team taking on Utah and Colorado. The swimming team, men and women, will play USC this weekend. The hockey team looking to continue the winning streak against the University of Colorado and Colorado State University. And the cross-country team heads to Palo Alto, California for the NCAA West Regional Championship. It's now time for the final word, and you guys know what that means. I will grant you each 30 seconds to talk about whatever you want. Take it away, Annie.
All right, well, I got some numbers again for you this week. 11. 11 is the number of penalties that we had that cost us 96 yards. And it's the inexperience and lack of discipline for this team that's hurting us on penalties. And 5. 5 is the number of interceptions that Nick Foles has given up in the last 2 games, including 2 that have been very ill-timed, hurting our comeback opportunity. And 0 is the number of successes we've had in the red zone. We failed on 2 attempts at Utah's game when Utah made 4 for 4. So that's what's hurting us, and that's my 30 seconds.
A little more than 30 seconds, and obviously no Derek today, so Zach, we're going to close it with you like always. Take it.
All right, first of all, I miss Derek. It's awkward sitting right here. But what I want to know is what happened to Thanksgiving? October 31st rolls around. Next thing you know, Christmas commercials everywhere. We as Americans and society have eliminated Thanksgiving. I'm bringing it back. From now on, only Thanksgiving commercials for me. That's it. 12 seconds, keep it. I want my Thanksgiving back.
No lights early, no.
I want Thanksgiving now.
So Christmas tree doesn't
I
go
can't even keep a straight face right now with that.
Me neither, I'm fuming.
Well, I want Thanksgiving too. Everybody wants Thanksgiving. That's going to wrap it up for tonight's show. Today's daylight savings time, so don't forget, doesn't affect us. We'll still be here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. For Zach and Annie, I'm Mike Rabin. See you next week.